So these are our nonprofit partners, and they go through our community investment process. And that is going to be changing this year. So we'll be having Greg talk to you next about what's new here at United Way. So Greg, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll be hitting the slides for you.
Thank you, Rachel. And Oki's asked if we will share the slides from this presentation afterwards. Are we able to do that?
Yes, we will be sending out the slides, and we'll send out the recording to those that are not with us today.
And they're very reasonably priced. Thank you, Rachel. And I just want to reiterate what Rachel said earlier. As the employee campaign managers, you're the real key and the linchpin to our campaigns. And so we don't take that lightly. We are going to share a lot of information with you here in a short amount of time. If you remember nothing else I say, please remember these two words, which are thank you, from the bottom of our heart. We really appreciate everything you do. So like Rachel said, we're changing everything. And so on the back end of what we do, which is the community investment process, how do you take the money that you help us raise for our neighbors in the community and invest it in the community? So we don't just transfer money to nonprofits, we fund specific programs. And our board just recently approved a change in our community investment strategy. We've been a little bit all over the board in the past, and this new strategy is going to be something that we think is going to have a really, really good impact on our community long term. 60% of what we're going to have as undesignated dollars are going to be invested in programs that work upstream. Now, our definition of upstream is those programs that address the root causes of social issues. Those might be the barriers to education, barriers to work, those kinds of things that really are sort of the root causes of poverty. 30% will be in a safety net, and we'll fund safety net programs, which are homeless and housing, food access, disaster response. Those are the things that you think of as being more downstream or the result of some things that occur upstream. And then 10% is going to go into something that is brand new for us. If you're familiar with the TV show Shark Tank, you kind of have some idea of what we're doing. Nonprofits, for the most part, really don't have the flexibility or feel like they have the authority to get ultra creative and maybe try some really innovative things. Resources are short. It's difficult to try innovative things because also in the nonprofit community, if you fail at something, you run the risk of losing your donors. And so we're going to actually work with the E-Factory at Missouri State University, who's going to help teach classes on innovation. They're going to teach classes on innovation to our nonprofits, but they're also going to teach our community investment panelists. Now, those are donor volunteers like yourselves that serve and volunteer to be the judges and evaluate these programs when they're presented after they apply. So we're also changing another thing on the community investment strategy, and that is we're opening up the process. We've funded the same 22 nonprofit partners for about the same, maybe the last 6 or 7 years. But it's time to open that up. And we have a list of 20 some nonprofits who have contacted us during that time and said, we want a chance to become considered as a United Way partner going forward. How do you do that? We're building an on-ramp so they can apply and compete for those dollars as well. They'll have to compete within the 60% upstream, 30% safety net, 10% innovation. So here's a little bit more about the upstream funding. And you see on your slide, I'm not going to read the entire slide to you, but we're really focused on the root causes. Because when we talk with people in the community, the question we get often is, what are you doing in the community that will make the needs and the sort of the safety net needs less next year than they were this year? And that's a great question. So it's a long-term strategy to address upstream root causes and try and, in essence, sort of reduce the downstream symptoms of poverty, abuse, things like that happen in our community. And you can see some of the barriers to self-sufficiency that we have listed there that would fall into that category. Our ultimate goal here is to get people self-sufficient, to make families self-sufficient. The example we sometimes use is that, if you have a two working adults in a family, and maybe it's two working adults and two kids, and they're sharing a car, and then the car has a problem and it needs a repair. Maybe it needs a $500 repair, but they don't have $500 because, quite honestly, about 50% of the US population can't cover an unplanned $400 expense without either selling something or borrowing money. So a $500 car repair can be substantial. If you can't get your car repaired, then mom and dad both lose their jobs. Suddenly the family has to move out of their house or apartment, and now they're homeless and they're living in the car. And now the kids, we have to figure out how to get them into a different school. And it just totally disrupts everybody's life. It also costs the community a lot more to deal with the symptoms than it would be for a $500 investment upstream to fix that car. So those are the types of things that we're thinking as upstream. It is a long-term strategy. This is not going to change our community overnight, but over time, we think this is the right strategy for our community. The safety net, the 30%, is more what you think of as those crisis response. So again, hunger and food insecurity, housing issues, child abuse and neglect, and response to natural disasters. Those are always going to be a need. We're always going to be known for providing those kinds of funding those kinds of services and programs. And absolutely, they are a need, and absolutely they are a priority for our community. But 30% of our money will be invested in those kinds of programs. And then, like I said, the last 10% is in the Shark Tank type thing. This will be able to fund in two different areas. One, innovative ways to address an existing problem, or an innovative way to address an emerging need. So if we have an issue in our community that's just starting to surface, it's our job as United Way to sort of look at our community from 30,000 feet and see where is it we need to move resources around in the community. We fund a lot of great nonprofits, and they're on the front lines doing that work. Our job is to take that macro view of the community and really look and say, okay, here's an emerging need that's coming up. Can we figure out a way to fund a program to address it before it gets out of hand? So what does this mean for your campaign? We don't yet know which nonprofits will receive funding next year, because in essence, what we've done is we've ended all of our contracts this year. And so the community investment process, which is again, 3 teams of 20 who are donor volunteers who serve as the judges and evaluators of these programs that are applying for funding. They will do their work at the end of this calendar year and in the early part of 2022. So we know that they will fall into the upstream, downstream, or safety net and innovation, but we don't know exactly which nonprofit partners will be funding next year. They will be 2-year grants. So when we have this conversation next year, we'll be right in the middle of a first year of a grant, of a 2-year grant, and we'll know who it is that we're working with. We also have another change, which is a change to our presentation policy. Many of you are probably used to us bringing a nonprofit partner with us to a campaign event. So you might invite us, especially pre-pandemic, you would invite us to bring a speaker with us to a meeting of your employees. And we would bring often a partner with us who would also tell their story. And what happens is, so if we bring a partner with us and they tell their story, everybody in the room then designates their gift to that nonprofit. And then the rest of the nonprofits say, well, that's not fair that we didn't get a chance to compete. But really what we want to do is we want to be able to tell our story as a United Way and the role that we play in the community. So we will be happy to be your contacts and we will be your presenters. And so myself, Rachel, Vicki, any of the 3 of us can be the presenters for you as we head into this campaign season. The designation policy has also changed. The way the designation policy is set now is if you designate to a particular nonprofit, it comes right off the top and goes to that nonprofit. And well, so the undesignated money is the money that we will split up between 60, 30, and 10%. So donors can also designate to other funds, and they can designate directly to the Upstream Fund. So we've talked to people who say the Upstream Fund is really what they feel strongly about. They want to help lift people up and make them more self-sufficient. You can designate your gift to the Upstream Fund. You can designate your gift to the Safety Net Fund. you can designate your gift to the Innovation Fund. We also have two other funds that can be designated to. One is the Cancer Fund. We work with Community Partnership of the Ozarks and their team to allocate money from the Cancer Fund for those people who might have had a cancer diagnosis. And when you are diagnosed with cancer, everything in your world is turned upside down. And so you might have certain needs, you might need help getting to and from chemo appointments, things like that. That's what we help cover. For the Veterans Fund, we work with our partners at American Red Cross, and Stacy and her team work with us to help veterans who are in need. And so the veterans come to either Red Cross or United Way, and we work with somebody who is sort of a case manager, and they evaluate their needs, and we get resources to the veterans. So you can write in designations to the nonprofits. You can also designate to any of those funds. And Vicki, you have license to stop me whenever I go too far. Am I supposed to turn it over to you at this point?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
It's all mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vicki Hicks.
Buckle up. We're going to go through this fast because I know you guys all want to get out by 5. So just so you know, we do have giving levels, and our goal this year is 2.75. I did want to make a quick comment to those of you that worked so hard for us last year. We were only 1% off our goal last year. And United Ways nationwide, we're off what, Greg or Rachel? I think 10%, 7%.
Yeah.
So most United Ways were down 7%. We were off less than 1%. So thank you guys for your hard work in our community. That's very important for us. So Rachel, if you want to go ahead and move on to the next slide, just keep in mind that these campaign season begins next week. And then please emphasize to your campaign participants or those that pledge that their donations out of their paycheck will not start until January of 2022. So it doesn't start immediately. Our campaign season does end on March 31st. So we do like most of our campaigns to run, especially those with payroll deductions in the first, before the end of this year, so that those contributions can begin. A lot of companies will do January, February, and March as special events so that they can continue to contribute to the campaign. And just heads up, we've got a June Day of Caring coming up. For those of you that participate in that, we are planning on another June Day of Caring. So your role as an ECM, we are going to give you, show you some resources in just a few moments where you can see a job description or some resources to help you. I know we've got a lot of new people on our call today, but you're basically the cheerleader to help run a successful work campaign. And we hope that you can engage your coworkers to participate in the campaign. We'd like you to organize the whole payroll or donation end of the campaign, as well as workplace special events. We strongly encourage you to get a committee behind you so that you can get some help in that process. We do have awards every year that are given out to our campaign participants, and we've just got a few listed here that are the Outstanding Volunteer, you can see, Community Service, and Humanitarian of the Year. But I'm more excited to jump to the next slide where we've got our campaign managers, and we have several of them in our audience today. We've got Jamie Craig is here, Stacy Connell, Clara Dewry, and Brooke Herbel are all on the call today. So congratulations to all of you for being our outstanding campaign managers last year. You had your challenges ahead of you with a pandemic, and you still did an outstanding job. So thank you very much to that crew. How to run a successful campaign. Obviously, get a team together. That's going to help you out. Set goals. We are more than happy to show you what your fundraising has been over the past few years. So just ask either Rachel or I for that information. And you can also set a plan of how many donors you want or how much you want to raise, and plan some special events. During the campaign, it can be a week campaign, it can be a month, it can be 2 months, it can be however long you want to run a campaign, but just be sure that you get your forms collected. We need those back to us by mid-December, hopefully sooner, so that we can get it set up in our system, and your payroll department is going to want that as soon as possible. So get us those forms. And then we want you to have fun. So keep it in mind, your enthusiasm is going to interpret to the group that you're talking to. So if you need us to help with that, Greg and I and Rachel are all available to come in and speak to your organization. I also will volunteer Greg up to do a video if you want for your organization, if you want to attach that to an email. We've got several organizations that are doing that, and we're happy to accommodate you in that way since we can't necessarily have nonprofit partners present.
It's not like a TikTok video, though. It's more
you
of a
could
campaign.
dance, Greg. You could dance.
I'd like to offer Greg up for a pie in the face fundraiser because he loves pie. So it's a win-win. So
Just
if
I
you
do
wanna
love
have your
pie.
employees
Depending on the
get
type of pie, I might be willing to do it.
Just remember, Greg, who suggested that. It wasn't me. After the campaign, be sure to share your results with your coworkers. We love for them to know about the success in our community. Be sure to thank everybody, and will certainly tell us the outcomes so that we can get moving on our end and include that in our grand totals. Next slide, best practices. Here's where I want to spend just a moment. It is really impactful if you can get your CEO or president or leader of your organization to send out an email to your staff telling them how important their contribution to the United Way is. If you can rally for that, we strongly encourage you to do so. If you're having trouble with that, we might be able to help with that. So let me know, or let Rachel know, or let Greg know, hey, I can't get a letter from my CEO. Well, then we'll help you request that. Lots of communication, special events. I just want to share that these are fun things. We at the United Way, we get coupons to use for additional days off. And my favorite, a flea at 3 coupon, which means that we get to leave at 3 on a given day. And most of us like to use those on a Friday. So it's always nice to leave it early on a Friday. If you want to engage retirees, we strongly encourage you to count those as a part of your participation too. So if you have a retiree list and you want to send them a letter, we can help with that. And we can even supply pledge cards for the retirees to fill out. And don't forget the importance of onboarding new employees. A lot of campaigns roll over and new employees don't have a chance to commit to giving a pledge to the United Way. So don't forget to include those new employees. And we'll talk about rollovers in just a moment.
Vicki, I was just going to touch on this real quick, just for time purposes. We're not going to go around and share ideas today. We were going to have you all share your best practices and events and things that you've done in the past. But just if you ever have ideas that you have or things that go really well within your campaigns, or if you want to get ideas from us, Vicki and I have seen a lot of different things throughout the years. You know, things that work well and things that didn't work so well. So if you ever are curious or you had a success, please send them to us. We love hearing those. If you have events, take pictures and send them to us. We love to promote you. We often will do a spotlight in our annual report on fun events. There was one from Associated Electric that they did a duck special event where they were going around and they were calling it flocking. And they had a bunch of rubber duckies that they would put into employees' offices. And in order to move the ducks, you had to pay to get them out of your office, and you get to choose whose office they went into next. So you could also pay for duck insurance to where your office could not receive the ducks. So that was a really fun way for them to fundraise. It was an easy thing for them to do. It made their employees laugh. They had fun with it. And they were all aware that the United Way campaign was going on when they were doing that event. So if you need fun ideas, come to us. We're happy to share those out with you.
And Carolyn Murphy just shared that she was at Associated Electric when they did that. And she also says that parking spaces are very popular to auction off, especially if you work at many college campuses or at Cox. Those are also great incentives for employees is to give so that they can get a certain parking spot. We have different ways of giving. We have corporate gifts, which is when an organization would either just give a flat out gift or match an employee gift. We love matches because that does incentivize employees to give. I kidded yesterday with a company that I used to work at that they needed to give a one-on-one match, dollar for dollar, and they laughed. But then again, they're CPAs. Payroll deductions are a big thing too. That's probably 80% of our campaign, 80 to 90% of our campaign. We do have a new pledge form, which I'm going to show you where that is. if you want pledge forms, please let us know. We are more than happy. We have them available and we can deliver those to you. And then we also have our new online giving program, ePledge. If you want to use ePledge or if you want to learn more about it, please contact your rep or we will follow up with you and we're more than happy to demo that. But it is an online giving site that makes giving in a pandemic world much easier. And it goes right into our database. And so it's a very good tool. A rollover campaign is where you would actually, your gifts, you would inform your employees or your coworkers that gifts will, starting now, will roll over every year. So what happens is that you just, it makes the campaign easy because gifts are going to automatically roll over unless you hear from them otherwise. And so you always give your employees an out on that. But we do like to incentivize the rollover campaigns by asking people to increase the percentage of gift that they're giving, or maybe even up their gift by $5 a month this year or whatever it may be, so that we can build upon that. People tend to get stagnant with a rollover campaign and we want to keep the momentum going. One-time gifts are easy to do, and a lot of people will make a one-time gift versus just doing a payroll contribution. And we love workplace special events, as we just talked about. Rachel's going to show you our campaign center, which is on our website right now. And so if you go to uwozarks.org, and we'll send this link in our email that follow up. And so you would go to Get Involved up at the top and Workplace Campaigns. Next up, you see a lovely picture of my two favorite people, myself and Rachel. And you hit Campaign Center, and this is where you'll find pledge forms, hints, sample emails, all of the information that we just covered, your ECM role and responsibility, our presentation policy. So you can go to this site at any time and download any of these materials. And there's even a sample email in support from a CEO. So if you want to send that sample email to your CEO, that makes it way easier for them to send a message out to everybody.
And again,
Am I missing anything, Rachel?
Well, I was just going to mention that if you sense that your CEO is not fully on board or not on board at all, we don't want to put you in that awkward position of having a conversation with them. That's our job. And so all you got to do is just let us know, and we will schedule a time to go meet with your CEO and just see if we can maybe talk them into some support, more visible support. So we just don't want to put you in that awkward position.
One other help. Go ahead, Rachel. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do have fundraising ideas. So this whole booklet here is on special events that you can facilitate in your workplaces. It helps you get ideas for things that are fun to do. We also have information on what our rollover campaign is, as well as ePledge. We are happy to demo that or go over that with you in more detail. And like Vicki said, we're happy to get you pledge forms. We do have copies of them on our website, but we also have those printed in our office. So if you'd like to go that route, we will get those delivered to you. And we'll be following up with our own campaigns after this meeting to let everybody know any more information and then collect information on what you'd like to do with your campaign this year.
One other thing I'd like to mention that I failed to mention earlier under ideas is something that we're promoting a lot is for new givers to consider giving a cup of coffee a month to the United Way. We all stop off at Starbucks or any of those hot coffee spots around town, and that's $5. And that's a great place to start with a monthly contribution. And so if you can get them started at that, then maybe you can build upon that in the future. And that $5 makes a difference to us and to our community, and it builds as more and more people do that. So I'd like you to encourage to use that cup of coffee analogy when you ask for gifts. And we'd like you to follow us on social media and tag us if you are posting things on your social media site. But we'd love to see what's going on in businesses and organizations, and we would love to have you follow us to see new ideas and things that are coming across our plates as well. And then I wanted to just finish up with talking about 211. 211 is an emergency resource, as Rachel mentioned earlier, and it's confidential and it's free. And it's the best kept secret, as Greg says often, in our community. If you see somebody in need, or you have a coworker who's commenting that, you know, they just lost their house it was repossessed or whatever it might be, or their car is in the shop and they don't have any way to get around, refer them to call 211. We have a staff member in our office that populates the help that's available in the Ozarks, and it's a national resource that people can use. And really, every time I talk about it, people are amazed that it's even available. It's as simple as calling 211 to get help.
Right.
And we've got one chat question. Vanessa asks, can you clarify the process when an employee selects to make a direct donation to an organization not selected in the spring election? Will they still receive the organization funds? And the answer to that is yes, Vanessa. Any designations to any organization are taken off the top. And so those gifts will be designated, and it's what is undesignated that we put through the 60-30-10 that Greg talked about. Well, since so many of you are fans of Andy's Frozen Custard, and I have a few connections there, we are giving away 2 $25 gift cards to Andy's today.
Woohoo.
For those. Woohoo! And so Leonard McGowan has entered all of your names, and he's done that in a computer system. And Leonard, I'm going to give it over to you to, I don't know what we're doing here.
Leonard, tell us what numbers we have to pick from, and we'll pick a number.
Okay, 1 through 34.
Greg Burris, pick a number 1 through 34.
I will pick 19.
19 is Dylan Slayton.
Dylan, I will send you a gift card for $25 to Andy's Frozen Custard. And Rachel, you want to pick the next one?
Let's do 32.
32 is Gina Marie Walden.
Ooh.
Wonderful. So Gina Marie, we will get that in the mail for you, and so you can enjoy some Andy's Frozen Custard on us.
Wow, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any questions from anybody in the group?
I just put in the chat, I did a quick calculation. I looked up the number of workers in the Springfield metropolitan statistical area. If every worker in our area gave $5 a month, it would produce $19 million. That would be a game changer for our community. So if you just kind of wonder, is it worth giving $5 a month? Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you will receive an email tomorrow with a link to the resources and the PowerPoint. We will get that out to everybody. And if you have any questions, please feel free to respond to that email. And Rachel and I are available at any time to help in any way we can.
Thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate you. And if there's anything we can do to help support you along the way, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are constantly coming up with new ideas. Last year, we really shifted during the pandemic. A lot of the special events took a hit because they were food-based special events. Who doesn't love food? And so we saw a lot of creative ways coming out of the pandemic to shift through that. So if you guys need ideas, those of you who are new and want to brainstorm ideas, call us, email us. You know, we're happy to help in any way that we can. And we can also pair you up to share ideas with other employee campaign managers as well. So thank you all so much for your time today. You guys get the gift of 5 minutes to end out your day. And as Greg would say, take the rest of the day off.